Before we get into it, if you enjoyed these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button, and keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. All right, folks, here we are on Thursday, March 6th. We're going to take a look at BBAI today. So I checked in on old BBAI today and noticed that it's coming to a pretty critical level. So ignore the blue levels for the moment. If we just look back here, this uptrend support initiated back in early November of 2024. It confirmed it for pretty consistent period of time through that whole month, and then again mid-December, late December, mid-January, and late January. And now this is where it's going to prove its value or not. The reason I put in these uptrend supports, and if you went and looked back at when we were doing BBAI videos when it was going through this big boom, I had said I'm going to leave this uptrend support in here because the value of uptrend support is not when it's doing, not so much when it's doing the like slow steady crawl like this, but it is when it comes and bangs into it. That's when you really get to see what that uptrend support is made of. So here's the two sides of the coin, right? It could provide some bounce potential, could give you some opportunity for some short-term gains or some long-term gains, depending on how it carries on, but it could give it some bounce potential for sure. The other side of that coin is all trends and chart patterns eventually fail. So at some point, BBAI makes contact with this uptrend support and just falls right through it, right? Or flips it to resistance instead of support, what have you. But in some case, it leaves the consistency and the resilience of that pattern behind. So is that happening now? I don't know, but we should know in the next few days. Now just keep in mind, I don't know if I have a good example of this. Just pretend that it's not, such a small move here. But if you see something like this, right? It spent like it tried to bounce off the uptrend support on this day, and then it was sort of like dipping a little below it and still a little bit below it, but kind of wrestling with it still, and then it got some motion back above it. This can happen, and I consider it wrestling with the level. So that to me is different from, if it comes down, hits it here, wrestles with it for a couple, and then it goes zoop, right? Then it's gone. But if you don't get that zoop, then, just keep in mind it's a level. So it can go a little above it, a little below it. It's nothing to freak out about. It could still maintain it. Now, blue levels wise, here's what we have. 425 is the current sort of flip from support to resistance. It is working off of these levels exactly how you'd want it to. Gapped right through this 472. That's maybe a spot to look for if it does sort of bounce off of the uptrend support, maybe climbing back toward that 472. Percentage-wise, that would be a mighty nice gain. This is, once again, if it bounces off the uptrend support. It may not. And if it were to come back and try to fill that gap or retest that 472, then just keep in mind it would have this 448 resistance along the way. So obviously a bit stacked against it here to the upside, but so it goes. When your chart looks like a sad face, you're going to have a lot of resistance up above you. So this is the most critical, moment to my eyes. Again, this might not be solved in a day or 2 days or 3 days because it might wrestle with it for a few candles. And seeing what it does off of that wrestling could be quite interesting. It may also move kind of sideways-ish along this like 425 level, right? And kind of get a little bit of distance from it, but not really push downward. So just keep in mind, even the wrestling can look slightly different. There's a few variances of it, if you will. If it loses 4, down here we have just below 4, 397, and then 350. And that would test this mini floor that it created here, but that had held up previously nicely in this range up here and had been previous resistance over here. So it might prove to be some decent support on that
that sort of like area between, say, like 360 and 350. If it does start to move and it can get through the fours, we have just over 505, 547, and then you might get some nice run room. You might have some nice run room here if you wanted to put a target on it in the mid sixes. But this is a big down day, right? It's down over 12.5% at the moment. And the overall market is having a hard time. I put out 3 videos in the last week talking about the strong potential for a market pullback / correction / crash. I don't know exactly what shape it'll take, but I started to get the heebie-jeebies, and so I started putting videos out about it, and then I put 3 out within 6 or 7 days. They each get like a dozen views, so I'm not going to keep putting them out there, but you can look at those. They're relatively recent. There's 3 of them. And if that continues to happen, yeah, I would expect stocks, even if it has nothing to do with BBAI, if the macro forces continue to say we need to bleed for a while, a stock that went from a little over $1 here in August to over $10 in February, yeah, they're just going to get beaten up really hard and heavy. If the NASDAQ falls 3%, BBAI is going to fall 10, 15, 20, right? It's just the case. We've seen it over and over and over again with these more speculative stocks, these lower price stocks, these stocks that have seen recent surges, even if those recent surges are for good reason. It's just the case. They get slaughtered in the heaviest of ways during these downturns. Thinkorswim wise, still firing here in the TTM squeeze indicator. Nothing's happening there. To me, the most important thing is as we are coming to this uptrend support on the Webull chart, we are simultaneously hitting 2 critical potential support levels here. This lower mid-range ATR level, that's about 4, I don't know what that is, 412, 413, 414, somewhere around there, and the bottom of the channel, right? So the degree to which this wants to persist staying in the channel and get some support off of that initial or that mid-range -1 ATR level, that's there. If it falls through it, this has a -1 ATR for the month of March at 346 right now. So just keep that in mind. If it continues to fall, that might be a target that you want to look at. Don't know what you then do with that target, but just know that, yeah, maybe it gets another even brief or a little bit of support at that level. I don't know. But that's one to maybe keep in mind. But, as you see the wave cloud here, I mean, this is nice, juicy, bullish wave cloud. And then we get this pattern that starts to look like a nose. I don't think it was BBAI that I was talking about this on, but some other video relatively recently where I was saying, it's starting to dip down here and, it still is a green wave cloud, but if that starts to come to a nose, like a bottle nose dolphin, is that what they're called? But like a dolphin's nose, if it starts to look like that, things might get really dicey. The bears in Big Bear might be in charge for a little while. So it's getting kind of bottlenosy. So we'll see. But yeah, I just thought I would come in and mention it because, like I said, I put out all these potential stock crash views or videos in the last week. And yeah, to a degree, I'm like, I don't know what else to put out besides like, here's, things that look really dicey to me. And then I saw BBAI and I thought, okay, I don't know that this uptrend support is going to hold. I don't have a ton of hope, but let me at least call it out because if it does bounce off of it, even if it just goes to 450 or 5 or something and then comes back down, at least it would have been a brief bounce, maybe a little swing play or something, but it comes with tremendous risk at this particular point in time for sure. All right, folks, I hope that you've had a good trading week. And as always, I appreciate you watching and I will see you in the next video.